You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. So good you could join me here today. Happy to have you with me and excited to go through our Total Wellness Tuesday show, where the topic today is how to add more than 12 years to your life. Every couple months, I like to do an anti-aging based podcast, which helps people to really understand that so much of the aging process is within your control. I did a show quite a while back called Can You Cheat Death? And I essentially broke down exactly how most people, the majority of people, 95% plus, are going to be able to live a long, healthy life greater than the average life expectancy of somewhere around 75 to 77 years old for men versus women. And they're going to be able to do that by essentially cheating death, which I talked about in that podcast. They're not going to get one of those main killers of mortality, right? What would that be? Well, it'd be a heart attack or a cardiovascular issue. It'd be high blood pressure or stroke. It would be some type of type 2 diabetes or blood sugar related issue, or it would be cancer. And if we can get around those, if we can really move around them, which I know that we can by doing our functional medicine lab testing, by doing our annual blood work and testing our lipid profile and testing our CBC, which is your complete blood count, by testing all of those things, they're not going to sneak up on you. That's the amazing thing. We're living right now in a day and age where we can test these things before they become a greater issue. So that means this: unlike going to your PCP and they say, oh, we're just going to keep an eye on it and things just keep starting to creep up every single year. That is not medicine. That is not healthcare. That's sick care. They'll allow you to get sick first and then they'll pull out the medication, right? Well, that's not health. That's simply masking a disease. And if you're a doctor right now, an MD listening to this, you know that, for sure you know that, but you might be stuck right now. You might not understand that there's another way. And I really invite you to look into functional medicine and functional medicine lab testing. And, maybe you can't go full-time into it right away. I understand that. I've interviewed many medical doctors for my practice. Sometimes you start at 2 days a week and you're 3 days a week in your practice. And what it allows you to do is to be actually able to affect change in someone's life. And as we're going to talk about today, it's true change. So not only does a person live longer, they live longer stronger, which means their quality of life is quite high, because there are people right now, I'm telling you right now, think of most people that you know right now in their 60s, okay? Think of most people you know in their 60s. How many of them are on a medication? How many of them have aches and pains on a daily basis? How many of them have some type of autoimmune issue, right? So you have to look at this, that we're not allowing people to age gracefully. Yes, people can get older chronologically, but why does that mean that the body has to be absolutely broken down and crippled? I do not believe that that is the society that we need to live in. I watched my grandparents. I saw all of their joints essentially become broken down and deformed by rheumatoid arthritis. I saw them being hobbled. I saw all of these things. And I simply don't believe that that is the type of society that we need to live in right now. It's not. Again, even 20 plus years ago, when I was doing my own, first functional medicine test, it was in its infancy. It's not anymore. It is not anymore. We can test exactly what's going on with your gut. We can test exactly what's going on with the immune system. We can test hormones. We can test your omega-3 levels. We can test heavy metals. We can test the minerals. We can test your vitamins. You name it, we can test it. We can even test your genetics now, right? So all of these things matter. But remember, genetics is just what makes you susceptible, right? It's the very crude saying of genetics loads the gun, but it's diet and it's lifestyle and it's other factors that we're going to talk about today that pull the trigger. And it's a crude analogy, but it's still the truth. I got sick many years ago at 17 years old because my lifestyle, my diet, my stress, my environment, the de-stress protocol that I talk about in the rain barrel effect was in full play. Remember, I had filled up my rain barrel. And when that happens, your genetics matter, right? That is when you begin to see what's possible, right? What's possible in your genes if you allow yourself to become overloaded with toxins or become deficient in certain vitamins and minerals. So what I want to do today is that no matter where you're at, because this study was done, and I can't wait to share this with you. I'll actually give you the study right now, and then I want to share what it's all about. This was done by Dr. Frank B. Hugh. He's a medical doctor and PhD. He is the professor at the Nutrition and Epidemiology School at Harvard Chan School of Public Health, right in Boston, right down the street from where I am. And he looked at this database of 123,000 plus people, did his studies on this with nurses, is actually quite prolific in his teaching and writing. And it was actually published in the Journal of Circulation, which I will link up. It was a hard one for me to find, but I did find it. And I'm going to link both of those up, the summary and the data, as well as the actual published letter itself, journal itself. So really amazing. And what I want to say is this. The reason why so I love research, I really do. But the reason why I love this research is that it said, even if you wait, you didn't live the healthiest teenage years, 20s, 30s, and even your 40s. Maybe your 40s were stress and family and all sorts of stuff going on. The people in this study, it was done like this. It said, even if you wait until you're 50 years old to begin to turn around your health and lifestyle, men can still add 12 years to their life on average. This is on average, right? And women can extend their life by 14 years over their counterparts. Pretty amazing. And all they had to do was make 5 habit changes. So this is the 5 habit changes to add more than 12 years to your life. What are those 5 habits? We're going to go through those right now. So one of the other reasons that I love this as well is these habits are not difficult. Honestly, they're not. There's no doubt in my mind that you have heard most of those before, most of these that I'm talking about. Maybe not all, maybe not in as detail, but I'm guaranteeing you've heard something like it. But the problem is sometimes we need to hear it over and over. The other problem is we need a catalyst. Well, here's the thing. If you have not been living the healthiest life that you can, or the best to your ability, because you don't need to be perfect, no one in the study was perfect, you're going to see your body start to, I call it like this. It's going to start to systemically break down from the inside out. And we can always watch it happen. The stress starts to build. The fatigue starts to set in. The digestion becomes a little bit weaker. The immune system starts to become a little less balanced. And then that cycle then actually repeats. Then you get more tired, right? You stimulate the body then with more caffeine. Sleep gets worse. Stress gets worse. Digestion gets worse. More gut-based permeability. All of a sudden then, our labs start to look worse. Each year a little bit worse. All of a sudden, we have some type of headache, migraine, skin rash, low energy, low libido. We've got autoimmune-based issues. We've got blood sugar dysregularities. We have high cholesterol, high blood pressure. Well, how did it happen? Well, it happened slowly over a period of years until finally you filled up that rain barrel. And after that, well, yeah, the water did overflow. Well, what happened when the water overflowed? That is when you let those genetics come to their fruition and you begin to see the dis-ease in the body manifests itself. Well, the nice thing is this, we can start to reverse that, all right? So even at 50 years old, I've talked about this before, I don't believe that 50 years old is old at all. In my opinion, I have so many people that I see in my practice, 50 years and older, I'll tell you right now, they get back 10, 20 years. I would, not chronologically, right? Because that's their age, but biologically. I mean, I see people literally wake back up. And it's like I wrote in the tagline of the book, and finally feel alive again. They get back that energy. They don't need the alarm clock. They get excited for life Because at 50 years old, right now, 2019, 2020, by 2030, we're going to be doing a lot of work, whether people like it or not, with stem cell therapy and being able to turn back the clock. So I'm a big believer. Keep yourself healthy for the next 10, 20 years. We're going to be able to live to 100 years old routinely. I know people living to 100 years old now. There's no doubt about that. But we will routinely be able to rejuvenate the body, especially if we're doing a lot of the detoxification-based protocols I've talked about from Ayurvedic times. I'll talk about them again, and you can go back to previous shows. But you're going to be able to extend your life. So if you're 50 years old, well, that's now the halfway point. Not 37 years old, not 40 years old. That's no longer the half point. Now you get another decade or two, like this study's showing. I mean, so let's go over this right now. The first habit is this, and it's important. You have to understand is, again, these 5 habits, and only 5, what were proven to extend your life by 12 years or more for men and 14 years for women. So here's what I want to look at. The first and foremost is this. If you smoke, you have to stop. You cannot smoke and then not expect to have all sorts of health issues go on. Even lung cancer aside, yes, your possibility of getting cancer increases by more than 1,000-fold. Some people and some studies show 4,000%, right? So there's some high stats. Let's throw that out the window for a second. Smoking also affects your energy. It affects your memory. It increases free radicals, which means that it's going to break down the skin. It's going to break down the tissues in the body, the organs. It's going to create more inflammation, all right? It's also going to throw off your neurotransmitters, and that goes for dopamine and serotonin. Another thing that smoking can do is raise your cholesterol. It can also raise your blood pressure. So now what are we doing? Well, now we're increasing all of the other risk factors that cause increased risk of mortality, right? The cardiovascular-based risk, the blood pressure, the stroke, Alzheimer's, dementia, just even other things like your poor muscle growth and because more free radical damage and inflammation, well, less likely to exercise, right? Because you're smoking, more wrinkles in the skin. So if you smoke, you have to stop. And by any means necessary, by whatever you need to do. Some programs are better than others, but honestly, the program that you use and stick with is so much better. Now, do I love all the chemical additives that a lot of these companies do to try to get you to stop smoking? I do not. But if it's like a 1 month, 2 month, or 3 month thing, in order to wean you off of cigarettes or get you to stop and then wean off of those chemicals, I'll take it. If it's hypnosis, absolutely. If it's cognitive behavioral therapy with hypnosis, with the others as well, fine. Use as many as you need. Get that body cleaned up. Begin to do infrared saunas. Do a functional medicine detox. Do the elimination diet. Your body will start to get cleaner and you will not want to be putting that smoke in your body. Trust me, it is a habit. I understand that, but that habit also becomes physiological, meaning like your body actually craves it. It needs it. It's hard to stop it. I get that. That is why, by all means necessary, we need you to stop smoking. Not yesterday. I should say not today, but yesterday. Literally, the sooner the better. And I can't stress this enough. Even if you only do 1 out of these 5 habits, it has to be that one. I mean, it really does. Okay. The third one is along the same lines as smoking, but I'll get to that in a moment. Number 2 is this. Get regular physical activity. That was the recommendation by Dr. Hugh. So, yes, of course, regular physical activity. Well, Dr. Hugh also studies metabolism, metabolic damage, type 2 diabetes. So he's very versed in this, and it was great to see quite a bountiful array of things that you needed to do to add more life to your years as well as years to your life. Well, the regular physical activity. So if we look at this, we're saying, okay, right now, physical activity is counted as this. 30 minutes most days of the week, which means 4, of moderate physical activity and 10,000 steps per day. That's what I'm adding in. Okay, so what does that mean? 30 minutes, 4 days a week. Now, I broke this down. I actually went through this the last couple weeks. So let's go over this. Episode 1077 last week, how to create the perfect workout program. So all we're trying to do is get in 4 workouts per day. 30 minutes, 40 minutes would even be ideal if you're only going to do 4 times a week. And the reason is this. You can get 20 minutes of some type of resistance training, and you can do 20 minutes of some type of cardio. And you can do 3 days a week of resistance if you want, which helps with the osteopenia, osteoporosis, sarcopenia, muscle loss. It helps with the telomeres. And so then we can also then do a cardio day. So we can do some resistance training, a little bit interval training after it, and then we can do a cardio day. Now, if you're someone with chronic fatigue or myalgic encephalomyelitis or some debilitating based disease, I've spoken about this before, of how to ramp back up your workouts. And I did that. Just the latest podcast on this was number 1056 of what to choose for the New Year workout. And I know I did another one. It was the 4 phases of exercise, or how to ramp up your exercise as well, that talked about that. Okay, so 4 days per week, 30 minutes, and then 10,000 steps per day on those days is not going to be challenging. Why? Because 10,000 steps a day is only 100 minutes of walking. You might say 100 minutes of walking, that's a lot of time. It's actually just over an hour and a half of walking a day. And you don't have to do all the walking at once. So if you're up for 16 hours a day, let's say you sleep for 8 hours, you're in bed for 8 hours. Okay. Let's even say at night you're on the couch for 2 hours as well before bed. Okay. So now 10 hours a day. You still have 14 hours in the day. And if you don't get up and walk and move for 90 minutes of that, 1.5 hours out of 14, even 1.5 hours out of 12, then that means that you're just too sedentary. And I look at that myself and I say, I'll look at my steps. And especially on a Wednesday. Wednesdays are my all-day wellness client concierge practice day, where I basically on Skype and I'm seeing people all over the world the entire day. And I see some people in my office, but it's mainly virtual now. Well, in those days, if I did not walk to work or get some walk in right there in the morning, and if I did not take a walk during lunch, and if I didn't walk home, there's no chance that I would ever hit 10,000 steps a day. If it was like a normal work day, so I get it, believe me, where you're just kind of getting up, you're moving for the morning, you get in your car, you commute to work, you have lunch either just right near your office or in your office, and then you drive home, you're going to be the average person. That's the average person. And you're getting 3,500 steps per day. That's it. So think about that. You're so far from the 10,000 steps, yet so close, because all it takes is what? Even your normal walking. You're going to get in your normal walking. 2 20-minute walks a day. That's about what I found. Most people are going to get in about 40 minutes or so. 2 more 20, 25-minute walks. Walk the dog. Go for a walk after dinner with your spouse. Get the kids outside. Go for a walk during lunch. You can do that. Doing that alone is what they've shown through the Blue Zones, through ancient Okinawan societies, and overall health, that you're going to be able to add more years to your life. I've given this recommendation to many, many people. A lot of people are like, what's walking going to do? I don't see any point. You don't understand the power of walking, though. The power of walking is this. It means that you are getting your body into the parasympathetic nervous system. You're bringing down blood glucose levels, especially after lunch. They call it postprandial blood sugar glucose, or just postprandial levels after lunch, affected by walking. You can look these things up. It's so important to look at that research because it's also so simple to do. 20-minute walk after lunch, 20-minute walk after dinner. How long? Wait 10, 15, 20 minutes and then go for that walk. Or do your best. Just get right outside. If you only have a couple minutes, good. Walk slow. Walk after lunch. So great for the body. All right. I can talk about that all day, but I do every Thursday with our Training Thursday shows. Okay, number 3 is this. A healthful diet is what they called it. A healthful diet. Well, what does this mean? Well, again, Dr. Hugh had written quite a bit on this with diabetes and with higher cholesterol-based patients. And what they found was this. You need to decrease your fast food. You need to decrease your sweets. You need to decrease your sugary beverages. You need to decrease your fried food. Most of us have heard that, right? Most of us have heard that. So don't eat fried food. Don't eat a lot of sugar. Processed foods, right? Don't get all that fried oil. Makes sense. We understand that. Most of us try to live that. Although we see a lot nowadays, right? With the high fat. Okay, fry everything in lard. Fry everything in pork fat. Fry everything even in coconut oil. Okay, I'm not totally against coconut oil. I've never said that. A little bit here and there. I actually use it in my practice quite a bit. But what I don't do is say you use 10 tablespoons a day. Okay? Couple tablespoons? Sure. Caprylic acid, lauric acid, medium chain triglycerides. I can get behind that. Not at 10 tablespoons, though. 10 tablespoons is not what we're looking at for the research. If a little bit of medium chain triglycerides are good, a whole lot doesn't necessarily mean it's better. If some saturated fat is good for those cell membranes, for the nervous system, for the brain. Good, right? For the hormones, good. But does that mean a whole lot is? Not necessarily. That's not how things work, right? So that's what I want to look at. What did Dr. Hugh recommend in this publication? Again, looking at over 100,000 people. This is not a small study. Well, what did he look at? Increase fiber in the diet. What else? Increase fruit. What else? Increase vegetables. What have we been preaching in the Cabral concept? You will see the fads come. You will see the fads go. But in the end, you can look back to these shows a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and you will see that the information here has always been on point. And the reason is that we don't go with the flow. We don't go with the belief of the day. What we do is we improve upon what's been known throughout the ages in Ayurvedic medicine and throughout the ages of traditional Chinese medicine, ancient Greek. We look at everything, honestly. I look at Taoist medicine. I look at everything, okay? And so what we'll always find is this, that the more plants we have in our diet, fruit and vegetables, which contain the fiber, the better. You can make a case for or against grains for people, right? So we're not going to say that. But again, I went over this on last week's show. It was called Safe Starches. I know that for sure. Let me see if I can find it. It was episode 1076. And even the day before that, that was a big show. Last week was a big show. The nocebo effect on Monday, the 5 vitamins everyone should take on Tuesday, episode 1075. 1076 was the safe carbs, starchy versus non-starchy carbs and why they're both beneficial. And we talked about how to create the perfect workout program on episode 1077. And we then did our Friday review of a bunch of great things on there as well. So hopefully you're tuning in each and every day. But it's this, right? It is plant-based diet. The research shows 60% or more plant-based. Myself, a lot of my colleagues who are not biased, we don't care who's right, our only allegiance are to our patients and our clients. What do? 80% plant-based. Could even be more. Honestly, it could be more. Because really, what's going to be non-plant-based? Well, your carbs are pretty much all plant-based, right? That's what we're looking at. So what are we talking non-plant-based? Well, we're talking about some protein in the diet for the most part, because a lot of our fats are still coming from plants. My fat recommendations, whether you want to trend more towards keto or lower carb, my fat recommendations are still going to be avocado and olive oil. That's where I trend more towards. I'll go with some of the nuts. Absolutely, I'll do that. But I won't go with, a bag of nuts a day. I'm not saying that either. So look to that. 80% if you can do it, at least 60%. And you can even just measure by volume for now. When you look at your plate, breakfast, lunch, and dinner is 2/3 of that basically vegetables, produce. You can use your fruit in the morning, and you can use it for a post-workout snack as well. For those don't worry about the weight, you can also do it as a mid-afternoon snack or so if you choose to. Well, I get into more precise diet plans in integrativehealthpractitioner.org, and I also get into it in the Rain Barrel Effect as well if you're ever interested. Okay, so number 4 is this. Consume alcohol only in moderation. And I've spoken about this podcast at length before. I went into it in terms of genetics, and I went into it from also the research as well, because the research does not back up drinking a couple glasses of alcohol per day. It does not say that. So I did that on show 994, I believe. Let me see if I can find that. Yes, that was episode 994. And the inside of that, I went over how even moderate drinking is bad for the brain, or in terms of Alzheimer's and dementia. And essentially what I found was this, that 1 glass of wine 3 times a week, or the equivalent would be 2 beers of a basically hops type beer. And that was a maximum 3 times per week. So if you look at that, well, it's about 3 glasses or so of wine and just a little bit over that in beer per week. And when they looked at that, they said anything greater than that started to actually lead to more dementia-based diseases. And when I look at genetics as well, I see that the same thing is possible in terms of, again, you'll never get more benefit. Abstaining from alcohol is always healthier, because every time you drink alcohol, you have to detoxify the actual ethanol, the alcohol component that would kill you if you did not detoxify it. It can't stay in your bloodstream, right? You get the effects of alcohol because it's a slight poisoning of the system. A lot of people don't look at it that way. So we slightly poison our system, and then we get the effects of alcohol, right? So, and I'm not saying never drink, because I have a drinker so every once in a while myself, and that's what I choose to do. But for the most part, I'm not going to say, oh, I'm having a glass of alcohol tonight because it's good for my heart. No, that's not going to be the case. Yes, you can show some studies, not for the ApoE genotype number 4, but for the 2 or 3 allele type, that it could lower LDL cholesterol and raise the good or HDL cholesterol. However, that doesn't necessarily negate other effects that can have on blood sugar, especially reactive hypoglycemia in the morning or during the night, effects on sleep, etc. So limit your alcohol. It says consume only in moderation. And number 5, the last habit is this: maintain a normal body weight. What does that mean? It means that the greater increase in weight that you have over a healthy BMI leads to more risk for cardiovascular issues, cancer, stroke, diabetes, dementia, etc. So when we look at that, we say one of the easiest, it's not easy, right? But one of the straightforward things that we can do is maintain a healthy weight. As I've said before, this does not mean that you need to be cover model ready, right? I'm not talking about that. What I'm really talking about is overall BMI and waist-hip ratio. And are they the end-all, be-all? Absolutely not. No, waist-hip ratio, yes, but not overall BMI. I know some people, more of the endomorph body type, they'll be at the higher end. However, 99% of the population, more than that, 99.9% of the population should still be under a 24 or 24.9 at the very highest for their BMI. If you want to know how to calculate your BMI, simply go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and just type in BMI calculator or BMI, and you'll see the previous podcast on that. Remember, the house calls are not the podcast to look at. The house calls are the ones where I answer people's questions the weekends. So check out the previous ones. And then to find your waist-hip ratio, it's pretty straightforward. You can find a calculator right online. You can look up my previous shows. But really, your waist-hip ratio is just dividing the waist by the hips. And what you get, and what you should get, is women below 0.8 and 0.9 for men as a ratio. So that means your hips obviously should be larger than your waist. That's not the case for a lot of people. Measure the widest part of your hips with your feet about 3 inches apart, and then measure the widest part of the belly right around the belly button. Just divide it, right? And you're going to be able to see it. You're going to be able to figure out if your waist is a 36 and your hips are a 34. No matter what, you're above a 1. So when we look at that, we need to realize that you're at increased risk for earlier death, for mortality. And that is why getting rid of that belly fat is one of the healthiest things that you can do. All right, so I'm telling you right now, these recommendations: don't smoke or stop smoking. Get regular physical activity 4 days per week. Not an hour a day. It can be 30 minutes a day with your 10,000 steps per day of walking. Eat a healthier diet. Save your cheat meal or your flex meal for once, twice a week, maximum once you reached your healthy goal weight, okay? Not 2 days in a row. A Thursday or Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, fine, okay? Those are the days that you might go off your typical healthy diet and you can have whatever food you would like so that you don't feel deprived. Maybe that's when you have some alcohol as well. But what I want you to think about is this: increase those plant-based foods, which will automatically increase fiber, all right? Consume alcohol only in moderation. Once per week maximum is what I tell my wellness clients. Really, if you're looking for overall health benefits, enjoy a glass or 2 of alcohol one night a week. If you're going to have it more than one night a week, try to keep it to just 1 glass on those 2 nights per week. And then maintain a healthy body weight, a normal body weight. Ideally below a 24 for the BMI, okay, 24.9 for maybe more of the endomorphic body type at the most. And then also maintain that waist-hip ratio of 0.8 or below for women, 0.9 or below for men. If you do that, you're going to be well on your way to extending your life by at least 12 to 14 years. Hopefully today's show is helpful. I'm going to link up the actual journal and research at stephencabral.com/1082. And for everyone looking for a place to get started, it's like, well, how do I get started with the majority of these things? I would either simply read The Rain Barrel Effect, which is going to give you the entire protocol I use in my practice essentially for free. It's on Amazon or it's on equilibriumnutrition.com. All proceeds go to charity. And or start with your own 21-day functional medicine detox. Ours is the Dr. Cabral detox, but you can honestly partake in any functional medicine detox as long as you know the ingredients that you're looking for, right? And if you've already done your 21-day detox, good. Maintain with the seasonal 7-day detox every 12 weeks like we do in our community, just as I do myself. I give you the same recommendations that I try to live. All right, I'm going to keep it at that for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, if this show is helpful, please do feel free to pass it along to anyone it may serve. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.